Hey, Bubs. I'm Greg.
And I'm John.
So we just saw X-Men Apocalypse. Let me tell you, hands down, the best movie out of the MCU. Kevin Feige and the team has really put together... I'm kidding, just trying to piss off the world right now. I like this movie. I want to put that out there.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought it was very enjoyable. You know, it's not better than Days of Future Past or X-Men First Class in my opinion. I still really like the characters. I loved a lot, there was a lot of scenes that I genuinely loved. A lot of people are saying this, like the first half is better than the last half. Looking back on the film, I do agree with that. I think the first half is more solid.
Well, and I feel like the first half had a lot more breathing room, and it treated its characters a lot more naturally, and then partway through the movie you get the sense that they just kind of had to hurry up. Because scenes would get shorter and they would get a lot more blocky in the dialogue, and a lot more sort of like, we have to go here now. Like, they set the characters up really great, and then some of the payoffs are the right ones, but they just kind of come together quick.
What I gotta say that I really liked about the last half was in the first half, it's coming back and forth between a lot of different characters, a lot of different storylines, and then sometimes you spend a lot of time with one character and then it cuts back to like, you know, Mystique, for example, and you're like, oh shit, that's right. There's a whole storyline here with Mystique. At first, it's like, I'm enjoying the storylines, but I kind of forget about some storylines, even though I'm enjoying them. By the end, they all do come together really well. I feel like all the storylines do get complete, which is, you know, a thing that tends to not happen in films like this, where there's so many characters, but yet, I felt like everyone's story pretty much got wrapped up, actually.
I think this movie kind of plays out like a really cool graphic novel, and I do think that it handles its ensemble pretty well. It's not the best ensemble piece I've seen, but it's certainly not the worst one, and everybody does get a chance to shine. Even the performances I wasn't as high on, everybody got a moment where I was like, that's awesome.
And in terms of like tone too, I didn't feel like this was an X-Men movie on a repeat tone. What I like about the last few installments is that they've all been a different tone, like for the most part. From First Class to the Wolverine to Days of Future Past, now this. It's called X-Men Apocalypse, and I was like, yeah, this does have kind of a cool, different kind of apocalyptic vibe to it, especially when you see Apocalypse's power just really grow and become more powerful. I like how Apocalypse, you know, doesn't like what mankind's become, but yet he knows how to use mankind's, you know, development and technologies to use in his favor to work against them.
That's been a very popular thing for comic book movies right now, is to have that sort of like, humanity, I'm going to evolve the world into a godlike place. I like how they did that with this. I like the sort of arcane and the sort of biblical proportions that they introduce Apocalypse with and all that. You know, and it's a cool vibe to bring in. We've come a long way since X-Men 1 and 2. The tone is different, but it doesn't feel like every other Marvel movie, which I'm happy about. Because part of it, in the beginning, I felt a lot of love for Indiana Jones. Like,
I thought of The Mummy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like those, like, adventure, and there was sort of an archecological with all the production design. There is just a lot of cool design shit in this movie.
Totally. See, at the end of the day, like, is some of the pacing off? Yes. Is the structure a little bit off?
Later on.
Yeah, like some stuff it doesn't quite hit. There's definite flaws in there. This movie, like, it really comes down to, do I like the characters and did I enjoy, like, being on an adventure with them? Absolutely. Charles Xavier, James McAvoy, I really like what he does every time with Charles Xavier, and I like what he did here. I know you had some gripes.
Well, it's not a gripe because I still enjoyed it as the thing, but I feel like there are some moments of humor and some self-conscious moments that to me felt like they may have been shoehorned in because of all the like, we're too grim.
It's weird because there's some like comedy lines that like sound like comedy lines that were forced in there, yet I still enjoy them.
Yeah, like this is out of place, but I still think it's cool. Like
the first sentence Magneto says to Apocalypse was like, out of character, but I'm like, still laugh though. And some stuff's on repeat again, like the same philosophical talks between Xavier and then Xavier seeing Raven.
Yeah, well,
just like her.
It's not the deepest of these. I like that they did attempt to, you know, at least make it somewhat allegorical and somewhat, you know, socially relevant. I get the complaint about like, it's always kind of Magneto and Professor Xavier going back and forth. Like, is Magneto gonna be alright this time? Well, probably not, but maybe he'll come back around.
But you see, it would be a major problem for me if Magneto was the main villain again.
I liked what
but he's
they
a
did.
follower. He's following Apocalypse in this one.
I like that he became almost like a general.
I do like Magneto's storyline, like Eric's storyline in the movie, especially in the first half, like setting up of life he had before Apocalypse came in, and then how Apocalypse is changing his life. It's very different than anything we've seen of Eric. I thought Michael Fassbender had a fantastic scene in there.
Yeah,
where I'm like, damn, this guy really still cares about the role.
They took a character motivation that's very popular right now and is easy to make trite, and they made me care about it. They put some real, kind of human emotion under it.
And Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, when I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't know, this kind of looks like they're Hunger Gamesing it.
I liked her more than I thought I would.
I did. I wasn't distracted by the fact that it was Jennifer Lawrence. If anything, the only times I got distracted was when she was actually blue, and she looked like just Jennifer Lawrence. I wasn't pulled out, but whenever she did look in the blue makeup, I couldn't help but be aware that's Jennifer Lawrence in the Mystique makeup right now.
Oh, well, Nicholas Hoult was as Beast. He was back. I thought he was fine. I think he's got some nice moments, but he was a little lost here.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's something about Nicholas Hoult that he does a good job. He delivers on what the role requires, but he's never been as intriguing as Kelsey Grammer. Yes. I know it's like two very different beasts at that point.
I don't think Nicholas Hoult does a bad job by any stretch. I just don't think that he got very interesting scenes in this movie, because I liked him a lot more in First Class. And I feel like we got to know him, or they hinted him being kind of upset over Mystique, and that doesn't really get time to germinate.
And Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, I thought he did a really good job, Some people complain about the size of him. I like the scenes where he's gathering his 4 horsemen. Sure, in terms of physicality, he ain't exactly the most intimidating looking up front, but the movie makes it really clear the powers he has. I don't need to see some guy who's huge when I know what he's fucking capable of doing.
They did a pretty good job of that. There were times when I was wondering, if you have such and such powers, why aren't you just destroying everything? Or why aren't you acting a little more right now? And that might be in the plot. It's just, it was a little hard for me to grab. I thought Oscar Isaac did a good job acting through that makeup. Part of the thing with most of these superhero movies is it always takes me a little time to feel out which ones I'm gonna find memorable and which ones I'm not.
Yeah, we get a lot of films under the MCU, and I think this is a better villain than a lot of those villains that we get in the MCU.
Where I'm sitting right now.
I know this is not the same thing, but Yeah, I mean, he has some cool kills in the film, which I like too. I mean, there's some cliche stuff that happens with him, there's this one scene where he learns everything about the world through
that
shitty
thing,
TV.
They always have, it's whenever they have that all-powerful character, it's just let me jack into the nearest technology just once and I will know all of history.
This dude is definitely evil,
Yeah.
But I saw that Apocalypse didn't view himself as evil.
Well, and I like that they gave him a certain, hubris. It wasn't just, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He's I am your god. You should be worshiping me.
And he treats the mutants like, I am your father, you know? He seems like if you're a mutant, it sounds like he's gonna care about you,
Yeah. Or at least if you're along with his, agenda. One of my favorite parts of this movie is Evan Peters. I mean, I think you said it first. I mean, he steals the show pretty much anytime he's on screen.
He doesn't get a shit ton of lines, but everything in his body language, his facial expressions, and the few lines he gets, he embodies it. He is a scene stealer whenever he's in front of the camera.
Yeah, he makes
beyond
it
his
count.
powers being fucking cool.
He makes it count, and he's some of the humor that feels very natural to me in this movie. And he has one of the coolest action sequences in the whole movie.
They do that thing that we loved in Days of Future Past, where everything's slowed down and he's taking control. But I'm not gonna tell you exactly how they did it.
Yeah.
But they do manage to take it to a bigger level, and you're like, yep, that was pretty sweet and good choice of music too.
I kind of like the girl who played Storm.
I like the girl who played Storm.
I liked what they did. I liked what they did with her. I got distracted by her accent a couple times.
I think the girl who played, what was distracting? So Arclight has a little hey. Well, a lot of people worked on this film, and it's presented by the girl who played Storm, and she's American. Then you watch a movie, and you're
that's why.
Now she's putting on an accent. Yeah. I like Storm in the film. I thought she was way more interesting than any of the other Storm interpretations we got.
I liked her a lot more than Halle Berry.
Way more than Halle. There's a way more interesting character, and I like how they took the approach of when Storm, starts off at this villain origin story. And I thought that was really cool. A lot of people seem to really like Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. I kind of didn't.
She had just that serious thing that a lot of these movies have. She had a couple scenes that I did like her more in. She had a couple moments where she did shine to me. For most of the movie and the way they handle her character and her powers, she didn't seem to have as much life to me as a lot of the other people did.
That's true. Ty Sheridan, I thought they improved. I thought they improved the writing of Cyclops more.
Yeah.
However, this guy sometimes seemed a little melodramatic. Sometimes when he was showing, personality charm, it seemed a little left field.
I feel like I might like him more later. Like, I feel like, again, it's sort of like the scenes he got were certain kinds of scenes. I thought he was alright. Like, I wasn't in love with his interpretation, but I didn't think it was bad either.
Yeah, and I felt like they could have had a bigger payoff with him becoming, Cyclops by the end. They do set him up like, oh, hey, I'm really disturbed, you don't like myself, and then it's kind of just cool with everything.
and that's the thing. That's the kind of troublesome thing about this movie is it has so many strong setups, and then by the end there are certain characters who get wrapped up or who get brought to the end kind of abruptly. So you're like, wait a minute, I get it. Like it doesn't wreck the movie for me, but it does start to weigh things down later.
Cody Smith-McPhee as Nightcrawler, I thought was great. I liked his introduction. I thought he had a lot more fun. He kind of reminded me of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, because it's the 80s too, so they took advantage of that a few times in ways that I liked.
Yeah, I liked everything they did with him. I thought he had a cool opening fight scene too, with Angel.
That was the kind of fan service I really liked, is when he fought Angel, I thought it was badass fight.
Yeah, and Angel I thought was cool too. As you see in the trailers, he becomes Archangel at one point. The transformation scene, out of all of Angel's scenes, where he transforms from Angel to Archangel, that was a very memorable effects moment for me. Like it made me cringe a little bit.
And that's some of the stuff I like a lot about this movie, is that there are certain things that happen that are bold, that kind of stand out of these movies. That's kind of another heavy load on this movie for me, is the CG, because some of it looks great and some of it does not look great.
Well, the problem is because in the last half of the movie, when it gets to the trailers, the big fucking finale,
the crazy
it's
world.
Like everything is CG now. You're like the whole background.
Here is most of this movie's budget.
Yeah,
right.
Most of it is now CG, and then you see behind the scenes stuff after the movie and before the movie, and ArcLight, and you're like, wow, the whole ending is practically all CG. And they didn't shoot on location and then throw in CG. Everything is CG.
They picked and chose, and they chose the right moments to make look fantastic, because they are the moneyest of money shots. But there are a number of other CG sequences and green screen sequences where, at least for me, I could really tell.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that looks unfinished. In a way that's almost refreshing to me, just because it's it's a real movie.
And Olivia Munn as Psylocke, I thought she was good.
I liked what she brought to it. They didn't do a ton with that character, so to speak, but
she could have been very conventional. She could have been very cliche. But
and I know
at the end of it, I liked her. I did.
Yeah, and I know her more as a host and things like that than I do as an actress, and so that was cool to see. Man, I really like what she's doing here.
I like how Apocalypse hooks up all his 4 horsemen with really cool suits.
And in one scene, they actually show him, adjusting somebody's suit. Alright, he's a designer, he's got this.
I like how he gives Psylocke, the slutty outfit.
Yeah, it's you're the one who doesn't look like anyone.
Yeah,
you're purple.
We're gonna have her ass sticking out.
None of this black. You're just gonna wear a one-piece bathing suit.
In the trailers, they do give away that there's a character that appears. I'm just gonna say it because it's already in the trailers. Wolverine. Not gonna say what the scene is. Pretty fucking cool, though. It's pretty fucking cool. And some people complain that he wasn't in it enough.
Oh no!
I thought it was just
perfect.
Right. Yeah,
that
was a great cameo.
That's also a thing. Is there are certain things I think that are really cool about this movie that do go on a little too long. The Wolverine scene is just right.
And it does show a different side of Wolverine.
Yeah,
which I appreciated too. It wasn't just Wolverine saying some badass sarcastic line or something. There's some stuff where we see a new side of him. Yeah, I mean overall, this film's jam-packed with characters, but I felt like it handled its load really well, and I thought it was a very enjoyable film. I think it's a really good addition to this franchise.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those films that, beyond fan service to comic books, it's also fan service to people who just have been on board for these movies all these years.
Yeah.
And because there's certain hints and certain repeat dialogue from previous X-Men movies, it's they're paying homage to that. They get a little meta here and there. So.
There are certain times where they wink at the camera, and again, I was I enjoyed this, but also it feels a little out of place.
But I definitely wouldn't skip it or skip through it. If I was having a marathon, like Origins, I tried marathoning X-Men, and I had to skip through it. It's just so bad.
Even if it's not the best made of all the superhero movies out, it's kind of in the middle. it still has certain things that are fun and fanciful that I'm like, oh, cool. Like, you still got creative here in a way that I like.
Instead of just maybe as an overall movie, it's not one of the best.
Yeah.
But there are some scenes in here that are definitely not in other fucking comic book movies.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff.
There's some really good stuff. I give it a 15 mind-reading genitals.
And I give it a Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Reasons to Jerry.
Yeah.
Blumhouse.com. We're on social media.
Yeah. Facebook.com.
We'll probably have to cut out a few minutes of this review because we talked for way too long.
Yeah.
And we have a community guideline strike from a podcast we did in 2012.